Hello and welcome to WVU Medicine Tuesday Talks. I'm your host, Mary Ravazio Menard. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention figures show West Virginia has the highest drug overdose death rate per capita in the country. In 2021, there were 1,519 drug overdose deaths in the Mountain State, a 15% increase from the previous year. Today, we're talking with Dr. Daniel Farmer, Medical Director of the WVU Medicine Center for Hope and Healing, which helps adults struggling with substance use disorders through medically managed withdrawal, stabilization, and residential treatment. Welcome, Dr. Farmer, to Tuesday Talks.
Thank you.
Good to have you here.
I appreciate being here.
So let's start with first, what is the Center for Hope and Healing, and what is the mission of the Center for Hope and Healing?
So Center for Hope and Healing is an inpatient detoxification and residential treatment center. Our mission for the center is to provide safe and high quality, effective care for individuals of the state of West Virginia to ensure decent addiction care for patients to live fuller, healthier, happier lives.
Okay. And I think it's important we get some terminology straight because it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed. We no longer use terms like he's an addict or he has substance abuse disorder. Can you talk about the proper terminology and what's the thinking behind it as far as destigmatizing things?
Sure. So terms like addict or alcoholic, it's important not to use. Using these terms pretty much, rather than focusing on a whole person, it just really focuses on one aspect of a person. These people that we're taking care of are much more than just addicts. They're mothers, fathers, veterans. They're people who have survived domestic violence, child abuse in some cases. So referring to somebody as an addict is just really focusing on one portion of what a person is. Mm-hmm. And rather than trying to belittle somebody down to that level, we'd rather bring them up and really focus on what the whole person's about.
Is it the same thinking as far as changing, substance abuse disorder to substance use disorders?
Correct, and the goal is, this is a disorder, not necessarily abuse, but the use is what is the disorder, not necessarily just the abuse. Yeah.
Okay, good point. So what services are offered by the Center for Hope and Healing, and where is it located?
So the Center for Hope and Healing is a 29,000 square foot facility. It's within the hills of Milan Park, so we're right outside the town. We have
Of Morgantown?
Of Morgantown, correct. We have 12 beds. It's mixed gender beds of detoxification treatment, and then we have 30 residential treatment beds, also co-ed, mixed gender. And we offer everything from detoxification treatment, we offer residential treatment, we offer medication-assisted treatment, we offer trauma-informed care, family counseling services. So we do a lot within our center.
It sounds like a very broad range of services. And all of these are offered under one roof.
Correct. And the benefit of having them all under one roof is that those patients who I'm taking care of and my colleagues are taking care of on detox, hopefully, if patients are willing, they'll move on from detox care to residential care, and they'll have that continuity of care. So they're not having to repeat their same stories over and over again. Some of these stories that people are talking about, like I said, we have people who have suffered domestic violence, child abuse, so they're not having to tell their stories over and over again. They're
Mm-hmm.
building trust within, just a certain set of people, and then we're able to get them to open up more, take care of them better.
Okay. And I just realized, I forgot to mention here at the top of the show that if you have any questions about addiction treatment, all you have to do is enter them in the comments section below, and we'll try our best to answer them live. So if you have any questions, fire away. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So if we think we have a substance use disorder or a family member or a loved one with a problem, maybe has, a substance use disorder, where do we start?
First off, the most important thing to remember is that you're not alone. There are many people with many stories and many events going through these types of issues, whether it's yourself or a loved one or a friend. The important part is that you know that you're not alone. A lot of this, whether it's the patient themselves or a family member, they tend to isolate near the end and they lose that hope. So knowing that you're not alone and that somebody's out there to be able to help you is really important. So that's the first step.
Okay.
And then we can take it from there.
Okay. So that's the first step. Now, it's my understanding if you want to come to the Center for Hope and Healing for treatment, that there's a 4-step process.
Correct.
So that was the first step, I guess?
Well, that was sort of like step.
Getting started.
Intro. Yeah.
Okay. What's the 4-step process?
So the 4-step process, step 1 is actually just reaching out to us to get a hold of our center. There's multiple ways to do that. We have a telephone number. It's 304-974-HOPE,
Okay.
HOPE. We also have a website. It's www.wvumedicine.org/hope. And on that website, there's self-referrals. There's also provider referrals that can be filled out right online to be able to start the process.
So you can start online.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And if not, you can call.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that's step 1.
Mm-hmm. So step 2 is the medical review. So once you call and give us a bit of information, then our staff starts reviewing your case. It all starts with our intake coordinator, and then it would go to myself or one of my colleagues for review. And that would be step 2.
Okay.
Step 3 is the treatment team recommendation, and that starts beginning to get into when you would start coming to us, what date, what time you would come to us, and any final questions you would have before you came to us.
Okay.
And then step 4 is the most important step, but also the hardest step, is just getting to us. A lot of people have an issue taking this step because it means that there's going to be a change in what's going on in life. And it's hard to make that change. Even though deep down we know that the change might be necessary, it's hard to take that first step. So, but once people get to that first step, they realize how kind of a place it is and how peaceful it is, and they're actually really happy to make that step.
I imagine it's a lot of support, not a lot of judgment.
Exactly, and those are all building blocks for changing.
Yeah, yeah. So what can we expect at the Center for Hope and Healing once we're admitted?
So once someone is admitted, it starts with going through the intake coordinator, getting some initial paperwork done. The first day involves meeting with a provider, getting some clinical information, clinical evaluation, and then doing a psychosocial exam with one of the therapists. From there, as the days go on, people start making bonds with patients, and that's where the real growth happens. And people start learning what they are and what they're not, and what their addiction is and what their addiction isn't, and then growth from there.
So it sounds like there's some peer support going on here, too. It's
Definitely.
not just the staff.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that's a really important part of addiction, is that while we're here to serve people for their detox needs and their residential treatment, this is just the seed. And then the more growth happens afterwards as well.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned that there are 2 programs, detox and residential. How long are those programs?
So
and are they separate from each other?
They are separate.
Okay.
And detox is typically 5 to 7 days, depending on things that are going on. And residential care is typically 28 days. And this is also depending on what's going on.
Okay.
So that can be changed as things are needed. But
can you leave anytime?
of course, yeah. Our facility is a voluntary facility. We want to make sure people are there because they're wanting to be there. And if it's not time for someone to be there, that's okay too. And it's just important for people to know that we will be there when they're ready.
Okay, good to know. Okay, some potential patients may want to know, can they bring their cell phone?
So you can bring your cell phone, but we won't allow it on the unit. A lot of people do bring their cell phones, but it's actually kept in a safe once they arrive. The benefit of having your cell phones is that during your time, if you need to pull out a number from your cell phone, it's available.
Okay.
But patients will be able to have the time to be able to make personal calls throughout the day.
Okay, okay. Do I have to have insurance to be treated at the Center for Hope and Healing?
So it's sort of a tricky question. Yes, but not necessarily.
Okay.
So we do accept most insurance. And I say not necessarily because we're fortunate enough to have a state opioid response grant, or a SOAR grant, which helps us assist those who don't have insurance to be able to get treatment. There's also people who are also self-pay rather than using insurance. So it's all dependent on your situation.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever the situation may be, if you were to reach out to us, we'd be able to help you out. We'd be able to assist you in whatever direction.
Because you do have those grants to help
Mhm.
subsidize the
Mhm.
cost.
Mhm.
Good to know. Okay. So why should people seek treatment at the WVU Medicine Center for Hope and Healing as opposed to going somewhere else?
Sure. Us being part of the WVU system, you're guaranteed, you have the name behind you. So no matter what I'm saying now, you know that WVU is behind you. So I mean that's almost good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, us having the education that we have, the teaching staff that we have, the cutting edge support that we have through research, these are all things that are provided for a patient while they're there. We have research studies actively going on at the Center for Hope and Healing, and people who are just coming out of school and just, who have experience in the field alike. So we have both ends of the spectrum being able to take care of people there. We also have just a multitude of different aspects to our center specifically, whether that be, our gym, our library. We have a fully functional kitchen. We have meals on site rather than hospital food. I mean, there's so many little things about the center that make it so much different than most centers. So it's just a great facility. It's just a great facility
Sounds
overall.
very personal, the approach.
Yeah, and that's
That's what you need at that
yeah,
time.
Exactly.
So what's the most important thing you want people to know about the Center for Hope and Healing?
And you actually hit it on the nose, is just how personal it actually is. The people at Center for Hope and Healing, we make sure that our staff have some type of tie within addiction, whether it be touching them personally or indirectly through their family or friends. But we each come there with a motivation to care. When people arrive at the center, they might not necessarily feel that right away due to their anxiety and what's going on in their life personally.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, people feel that motivation for recovery and that compassion. It's palpable in the air. And you can see people smiling as their time goes on and connected again to a community of people who care.
Right.
And that's not something that I take lightly. It's important. It's very important.
And I imagine you don't need a referral. If you think you need help, you can just reach out yourself, correct?
Exactly.
Self-referral?
Yep.
And I think before we go, it's important we reiterate, if somebody thinks they have a problem or a loved one that has a problem, what's the best way to reach out to the Center for Hope and Healing and get the ball rolling?
Sure. And I'll repeat those the number is 304-974-HOPE. And the website's www.wvumedicine.org/hope.
So whichever way you're most comfortable with. And if you call, is that 24 hours?
It is 24
Wow.
hours. Yep. During the business hours, we have one of our case managers reach out, and then after hours, we have a charge nurse who takes care of issues.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. You shared a lot of really good information with us today.
My
and
pleasure.
hopefully we'll be helping some people out there that are
Hopefully,
maybe thinking about this.
we'll be there when they're ready.
All right, great. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this edition of Tuesday Talks. If you're looking for more information about treatment for substance use disorders, visit wvumedicine.org/hope. And join us next week on Tuesday Talks when we'll discuss the upcoming flu season and COVID-19 with WVU Health System epidemiologist Dr. Michael Stevens. I'm Mary Ravazio Menard, and on behalf of Dr. Farmer and everyone at WVU Medicine, thanks for joining us and have a great day.